And joining me now on this contentious issue is a very special guest, Ashok Lavasa, former Election Commissioner, joins me. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Lavasa. What do you believe is the real issue here? The opposition is claiming that this election revision of rolls could lead to disenfranchisement of citizens, of eligible citizens, simply because of the voluminous documentary evidence being asked for by the EC. The EC is claiming this is just an exercise to clean up the rolls and purify them in a way. Where do you stand, sir?
Thank you, Rajdeep, for having me. First of all, I think purification of electoral rolls is a legitimate exercise. It's a legitimate expectations as far as the voters are concerned. It's also something which the political parties have been demanding. So, Election Commission is fully empowered to carry out purification of electoral rolls. I think the controversy arises because of several issues. One of them being whether this is the appropriate time when a state is facing the elections just 4 months from now or 3 months from now. So whether it is the appropriate time. The second is that the distinction that has been made between pre-2003 and post-2003, is that the procedure that was followed in the past? Or is there something different that ECI is attempting to do? Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing which is more fundamental is the adherence to the provisions of Article 326, which clearly says that only citizens of India and those who are above 18 years of age, who are not otherwise disqualified, they are eligible to vote. So I think there are some technical issues underlying all these three things, and that probably has created the furor.
With due regard, sir, it's more than just technical, isn't it? I mean, you all yourself have written or been quoted as saying the electoral rolls do not become necessarily a test for citizenship, that it cannot be that if I don't have a particular document, I am ineligible to vote, especially if I am already someone who has an Aadhaar card, has a ration card. Suddenly I am being told, no, this won't do. You'll even have to provide in some instances the birth certificate of my parents. Now, in a state like Bihar, the concern is people don't have that. It possibly is true of different parts of the country. So is it just the suddenness of it all, or also the substance of it, which is troubling?
That's right. So even the substance is technical, because you have a situation where under the Citizenship Act followed in the country, there is no single document that is issued by the state to any citizen which will certify his citizenship. Mm-hmm. That has been the situation since the beginning, and I don't think the situation has fundamentally altered in the last 7 decades. But the fact is that the Election Commission of India, which is charged with the responsibility of conducting elections and protecting the rights of people to vote, has been conducting elections, has been creating electoral rolls for the last more than 7 decades. At the same time, respecting Article 326, the difference is that it is authorized to create its own procedure, which it has been following. So the point is whether it should continue to follow that time-tested procedure.
What's your view? What's your view? Because, in the past, your Aadhaar card was seen by, many believed Aadhaar card should have been enough. The Election Commission itself, Mr. Lavasa, brought out epic cards. This was done a short while ago. They themselves held a general election a year ago and several state elections subsequently. So the question is arising, why suddenly?
That's what I said. That is what I said, the suddenness of this. Because in itself, purification of electoral rolls is a good exercise. It's a desirable exercise, because we don't want people to be enrolled in more than one constituency, etc. We don't want people who are eligible to be left out, etc. So, but the point is that, as the Election Commission of India has said, that they want to do it in the entire country. So I thought that they should have chosen states which have some time to go for the elections, where they would have the facility of explaining to the people what they're attempting to do, what is the procedure that they want to follow, is there something new in the procedure that they have now prescribed, and then people would have tried to understand and respond to the Election Commission's requirement. So that's what I said, this suddenness of this and the short time which is available. But the other more substantive thing, as I said, is that in the past, the Election Commission has given the right to vote to people by creating epic cards, by enrolling them, after following a due process which it has prescribed. And that process, by the way, meant two things basically. One, submit a set of documents which Election Commission has prescribed. And secondly, subject yourself to a proof of very physical verification of your ordinary residence. So these are the two fundamental pillars of ECI's satisfaction so far.
So does that mean when they suddenly change the rules in a way and ask for additional document, does it mean that the earlier system of these epic cards has failed? Is this the Election Commission in a way admitting that the electoral rolls have loopholes?
No, that is exactly my point, that if after 2003, say in the case of Bihar, people have been enrolled by following a due process, and they have also, some of them would have voted in general elections, in state assembly elections. And today, if they fail to produce any of the documents which has been prescribed, what happens to their status?
Right, and there is an element of arbitrariness even when you use 2003 as a cutoff date. I mean, suddenly it seems that if I'm eligible before 2003, no problem. Your verification is fine. But if I've registered post 2003, a question is being brought in. I mean, there is an arbitrariness which is very worrying. Why 2003?
Yeah, so the distinction which Election Commission has made in the case of Bihar for 2003 is because the last SIR was conducted in 2003. But the point, Rajdeep, which we all need to understand, and I think Election Commission owes it to the people of this country to explain whether they, in the previous SIRs, whether in Bihar or in any other state, did they follow this procedure, or the procedure which they are now following is different? And if it is different, why is it different?
Would you support, Mr. Lavasa, the view that an Aadhaar card should be enough? That an Aadhaar card is enough? Or do you believe the fear of duplication of Aadhaar card leads the Election Commission to say, we can't only go by Aadhaar cards?
No, as I said, look, the Aadhaar card, in any case, even the Aadhaar Act does not say that it is a proof of citizenship. And it goes back to the point that I was making, that there is no single document in the country under the Citizenship Act, which is issued by the competent authority to tell the citizens that they can prove their citizenship by using this card. So in the absence of that, Election Commission, which is charged with the responsibility of enrolling voters and conducting elections, they have devised their own procedure. I mean, you go back in time, in 1951, when the first election was held, who had citizenship documents? But a voters list was created, an electoral roll was created. And therefore, the Election Commission has the authority to invent its procedure if it is not inconsistent with any existing law.
So what
That's what they have been doing in the last 7 decades.
So what would you suggest, given this controversy, if you were an election commissioner today, what would you suggest? Do you keep this process on hold, allow the elections to take place, and try, or at least at the very least call a meeting of all the parties to allay specific concerns, or push the date by which you want this exercise complete? Many believe that the short duration that you've given, that the exercise to be complete by July 25th, is simply bizarre and ridiculous.
Rajdeep, I think all the options that you have suggested should be tried. You should have a meeting with the political parties, explain to them what is your purpose, what is it that you're trying to achieve. And if indeed it is a feeling of the field functionaries and the political parties that this exercise cannot be satisfactorily completed in the given short time, then pause it and do it later. Because after all, the electoral roll was published as recently as January 2025.
That's right.
And subsequently, there is a procedure for updating the electoral roll as per the Representation of People's Act and the registration of voters rules. So I think all those procedures are there. People have voted on the basis of an existing electoral roll. Now, I just want to point out, Rajdeep, that theoretically, let us see what will happen to those who fail to submit the documents to establish their claim. What will be their fate? They will not be able to vote, that is one. But by inference, are they not citizens? And if they are not citizens, who will determine their citizenship? We already had an experience in Assam where D voters list was created,
Yes.
doubtful voters. Now, till this day, after so many years, it is not known what is the fate of those who were put in the D voters list, except that when they were included in the D voters, they could not vote. But 20 years down the line, we don't know what is the fate, whether the state has been able to determine their status and whether they have got back their status as citizens. So I think these are very critical issues,
Yes.
and we need to discuss them with all the stakeholders and take a very well considered, calm view in the matter, by which you achieve the purpose of purifying your roles, but at the same time, not at the risk of disenfranchising people who already have existed in your electoral rolls.
Right. Let me therefore conclude by asking you, and this is a more direct question. The opposition is saying that that this exercise is being done at behest of the government in power, with an eye on Bihar and more crucially later on Bengal. Mamata Banerjee of West Bengal Chief Minister says this is NRC from the back door. This is an attempt to disenfranchise many of the poor, minorities, OBCs, and the general impression that the EC is acting as the rubber stamp of the Modi government. How do you respond to that? You've been part of this organization. Is there a serious, is this charge? Rahul Gandhi's even gone further, virtually claiming that decisions taken by the Election Commission are basically decisions mandated to them by the Modi government.
Well, politicians are entitled to say anything. There is no way in which you can judge the intention of why a decision was taken. So I don't want to get into that area.
But is there a perception problem? Does the Election Commission face a perception problem when such serious charges are made, all the more making it important that the EC allays these fears?
You see, as they say, that you should not judge the outcome of the exercise till the exercise is complete. That is one. The other is you should not even try to read motives in something which a constitutional body has decided. But the fact is that in the implementation of the decision that has been taken, there are practical issues and there are conceptual issues. So those issues need to be sorted out. For example, let me give you one more example. That if it is said in the notification of 24th of June that those who have submitted their enumeration forms by 25th of July, their names will appear in the draft electoral rolls. Now, at the same time, the instructions also say that the form needs to be duly filled, accompanied by self-attested forms. So, is there clarity that only forms which will be accompanied by those documents will be accepted, and all those who do not submit the attested forms, their names will not appear in the draft electoral rolls? Further, if indeed, as the advertisement which has appeared yesterday in some papers, that those who just sign the enumeration forms, those forms will get accepted. But does it therefore mean that they will not be asked to produce the relevant documents subsequently? So I think these are all open questions. Until these questions are satisfactorily answered,
Right.
doubts will linger.
You see,
So
the EC, in fact, Mr. Lavasa has said there have been no changes in the instruction, virtually suggesting that the advertisements put out in the papers is not what the EC intends to do with this exercise. So there's a lot of confusion. You're saying we need clarity. I will ask you one more time. Do you believe, and maybe a yes or no answer, do you believe that the Election Commission of India faces a credibility crisis in its supposed status as a neutral umpire?
Well, I would not use the word crisis, but I would certainly say that there is a need to establish open and credible channels of communication.
Okay. Okay. I think you've gone as far as you could in raising vital questions that I do hope that the Election Commission of India will answer. The public has a huge faith in the idea of free and fair elections in this country. All the more important for the Election Commission to be totally transparent in any exercise it conducts. Ashok Lavasa, for joining me on the show, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.